Hello, and thanks for joining the Cyber UK 2021 session, Cyber Essentials Raising the Bar Across the UK. I'm Chris Ensor, Deputy Director for Cyber Growth at the National Cybersecurity Centre. In my role, I use NCSC's expertise and brand to build new cybersecurity capability in education, research, innovation and industry. In this session, we'll be looking at the industry element and in particular the economic and security impacts the Cyber Essentials scheme has had since it was launched. When it comes to growth and prosperity, the UK needs a vibrant cybersecurity sector made up of companies offering quality products and services that help consumers to improve their security and raise the national cybersecurity bar, whilst at the same time driving the market in a way that adds jobs to the UK economy. In this session, we're going to dive into Cyber Essentials, a scheme that industry delivers on behalf of government that is both helping to increase the resilience of the UK to cyber attack, with over 65,000 certificates issued, and building an ecosystem of quality cybersecurity companies across the UK. Today, there are over 250 companies offering Cyber Essentials assessment services. The success of Cyber Essentials has demonstrated that working with industry and the use of appropriate government policy levers, in this case procurement policy, we can build an effective cybersecurity ecosystem for the UK. Launched in 2014, Cyber Essentials is a scheme that encourages organisations to implement 5 basic cyber hygiene measures and then go to companies they can trust to assess if they've got them right. In this session, you will hear firsthand how together we can raise the cybersecurity bar and create economic growth. I'm pleased to introduce our chair for today, Emma Philpott, CEO of IASME Limited, the NCSC's Cyber Essentials partner. Emma, over to you.
Thanks very much, Chris. Hi. Yes, so I would like to, first of all, tell you a little bit more about the Cyber Essentials scheme for any of you that are not familiar with it. So as Chris said, we have been the Cyber Essentials partner since last April. So we've had 1 year now of running the scheme in its entirety. So at the moment, we certify about 2,000 companies every single month to Cyber Essentials. And this is delivered by more than 265 certification bodies based around the UK and Crown dependencies. So Cyber Essentials is based around 5 technical controls. So you can see them listed there. They are relatively simple and they're designed to be so. But if you implement these controls, you are protected against the majority of online commodity cyber attacks. Cyber Essentials has 2 levels of assurance. So the technical requirements are exactly the same. But at the self-assessed level, the organisation just answers questions from the self-assessment. These answers are checked by an independent assessor, and then they are passed or failed. If they fail, they get feedback on any aspect, and then they get another chance to address those issues and resubmit. At the Cyber Essentials Plus level, the situation of the IT systems within that organization are audited by a trained assessor. So this involves an internal and external vulnerability scan and some other technical audit aspects. All of the organizations that attain Cyber Essentials are based in the UK, where they certify the whole organization and have less than 20 million turnover, do have the option to have included cyber insurance. So this is a particularly important aspect in case they ever have any issues within the next year. Without more ado, I would like to move on to our case study. So I'd like to introduce Sue Burke, who's the CEO of MK Act. And Sue is going to tell us a little bit about how Cyber Essentials has helped her organisation. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much. So, my name is Sue Burke and I'm Chief Exec of MK Act. So who is MK Act? We're a domestic violence services based in Milton Keynes, and our charity name is Milton Keynes Women's Aid, and our trading name is MK Act, as we support all genders. We've been providing domestic violence services to the community of Milton Keynes for 45 years, and we're commissioned by the local council to provide these services. We also have other projects and contracts, and one of these is CAFCAS. We work collaboratively with local and regional agencies, and we're what you'll call a medium-sized charity. So we have an annual turnover of just over £1 million. We have 30 staff, 20 volunteers, and around 7 trustees. So the services we have a helpline and crisis service, and we have a 28 flat refuge. We provide risk assessing, support planning for all those that come through our service. We also have an outreach service, and we have a perpetrator programme as well. So we cover all aspects of those who are experiencing domestic abuse, whether they're the victim, the child, or the perpetrator. So this is just some of our figures for the year of the number of people that we support, just so that you have an idea. And we support around 1,500 to 2,000 people each year across all our services. So who are our clients? Obviously, victims of domestic abuse, that's within our refuge, our crisis service, and our outreach. The perpetrators of domestic abuse through our perpetrator programme. The children within families, so this is those that that live refuge, but so we work directly with them, but we also work indirectly, so through our crisis service and outreach. There is also those that we have contracts and projects with, so that's the council, the Police and Crime Commissioner, and fund making bodies like Children in Need as well. We also have counselling clients, and even though staff and volunteers and trustees aren't our clients, their safety and security is most important to us as well. So why is cyber security important to us? So for us and our clients, safety of them is key, because we know that they have a lot of our clients are at high risk of harm or death. So we want to make sure that all their information is safe, because if their information is safe, then it makes them safer as well. We're also a charity, and obviously we need to protect ourselves as an organisation to make sure that we have everything in place, and also reputational, because we're a small charity. We trade on our good name, and we've got a good name within Milton Keynes, and actually if we have a breach or something goes wrong, that can have a massive impact and actually affect our charity going forward. And there's also the financial risk, so fines and theft. So we work within tight margins. We're paid public money through the council and the Police and Crime Commissioner, and also there's fines within our contracts if we're not doing things right as well. So there's the Information Commissioner who can put fines, but also other people. So it's really important that we work within the correct guidelines to reduce that. So where is our threat from? So it's from perpetrators we know that perpetrators of domestic abuse play many different techniques to keep power and control over their victims, and we often have to stay one step ahead about what they're doing, and we're often amazed at the techniques that they use, particularly around technology. And we know that at least 2 women a week are killed by their partner or ex-partner, so the threat is real, and for us, security and confidentiality is safety. So if we have all our online and our physical information safe, then we know that people are more safe. Obviously, internal, we have a great team, but we have to make sure that we have the right policies and procedures in place around staff and volunteers, so that nothing wrong happens there. Obviously, we are at risk, like any other organisation, from malware and other cyber attacks. So we just need to make sure that we're protected against them. And as an organisation, as through COVID, we've had to keep going with our services, we've had to adapt, and we've had to make sure that we're keeping going and we have that business continuity in place. So if something does go wrong, that we have those business continuities and risk management all done. So Cyber Essentials, the process was really rigorous, but it was doable for us. So it was rigorous in a good way. And we received great support from Information Age throughout the process, and with our yearly accreditations as well, and also ad hoc. So when questions come up, so recently we had some questions around our organisational insurance, and we just went back to our Cyber Essentials standards and also to Information Age to check what we needed to have in place. So it also, in having Cyber Essentials, it means that I know that we are covering the right legislation, that we are acting as we should be, because it's within that the framework. It covers all aspects of security, and it's clear who has responsibility. So even though we're a small organisation and sometimes those roles, you can have double roles, it does make it very clear about who does what, which is really important as well, and who has that responsibility. It highlights gaps. So we've just done our reaccreditation, and one example was we had 2 phones that were out of the system. Now, actually, we wouldn't have known that if we hadn't have gone through that reaccreditation process. So it meant that we were able to get rid of those phones and replace them with secure ones. And it gives us clear guidance of what we need to have in place. It goes through every aspect of the organisation, so it makes sure that everything's covered. We have limited resources, so my job, I'm doing many different things, and can be different directions. So going through this process means that I'm able to focus on making sure that we've got the right things in place, and I'm not going down different rat holes and stuff so it's really clear around that way. And also we outsource our ICT, and it just makes sure that we know what we have to ask our ICT provider to make sure they have in place what we need to have in place. It gives us peace of mind, and particularly the trustees, that we're covering all aspects of what we need to do. And also it helps us make decisions on a day-to-day basis. So we refer back to standards when we have to make decisions about things. So for example, the phone, and recently we've had to review our laptops, and with our IT provider we're able to say, well, this was the Cyber Essentials standard, can you make sure that what we have meets that standard? So these are the things that we have in place to make sure that we're data secure, and this is through our Cyber Essentials accreditation. So now I'm going to hand over to John Douglas.
Thanks, Sue. I'm John Douglas from Information Age. What I'm going to talk about today is the challenge of the voluntary sector meeting their cybersecurity and data protection standards. The voluntary sector is a fairly wide description, sometimes referred to as the third sector. It's generally not well resourced. Sue, as an example, is one of the bigger voluntary sector organisations. And they have been referred to generally before, subsequently, as the civil society. I think that's probably gone out of fashion now, but that's what it used to be called. The examples that I'm particularly interested in are those working in the family support social services sector. And these are organisations like MK-ACT, that Sue's just explained. There's also organisations like YMCA that look after young people who have perhaps been in a situation where they're at risk. These may be people who've been pulled in or identified as being involved with potentially in gangs or criminal groups, and they can be taken out of that environment, given shelter, separated from those people who are trying to undermine or subvert them. There's also family mediation. This is where partnerships are breaking down or at risk of breaking down. Perhaps family mediation services can heal some of the rifts, but if not, try to make these rifts as amicable as possible, with minimizing the impact to all parties, in particular the children. There's also the aggression management services that Sue covers as well. And there's also child contact centres where there is a partner, a non-resident partner, who we can't arrange for an amicable arrangement with the resident partner, then under those circumstances, the child contact centre can be a place of safety where the child can meet their non-resident parent and keep the family, at least to that extent, in place. The child knows about the non-resident parent, father or mother, that has not got custody. So, from a cybersecurity viewpoint, I think the key point, as far as we're concerned, is that it's about vulnerable individuals. People in this sector who receive the services are at risk of being abducted, being killed, suffering significant psychological harm. In terms of most risk measures, the risk level for a lot of the organisations in this area is very high. They have the normal environmental checks, threats, the phishing that Emma's mentioned, there's viruses, there's denial of service attacks, etc. All of that is a sort of routine run-of-the-mill. But we also know and have quite a wide experience of targeted attacks. When you're in a conflict, there are two sides in the conflict. Although most organisations have a principle of neutrality, not taking part and not taking sides, they are still perceived as taking sides, one side against the other. And when you're in conflict, things tend to escalate. And as Sue's already intimated, one of the problems that happens across the sector is people targeting attacks, picking up specific attacks, learning about attacks, cyber attacks, to actually get at either the voluntary organisation or using the voluntary organisation to get at the other person involved in the dispute. And finally, which causes us probably real concern, is that there are a lot of people who are refugees, political refugees, that these services look after. And we know there is regular attempts by foreign organisations, I think is the best way to describe them, to scan and pick up as much information, just general background information about the people involved. And therefore, we have all three types of threat sources that we have to deal with. So we've got client fear to deal with. We have the issues of continuity, which we've talked about. These services are vital to people. We can't afford for them to be disrupted. It causes severe harm and hurt to individuals when the services are not able to be developed. And indeed, in the case of the shelters, it puts people specifically at risk. But generally speaking, the resources available in the organisations are not sufficient to meet all the threats that we've identified. And then finally, in 2017, we had the concern about what people did about GDPR, and also some of the tightening of the rules, the judicial rules about the conduct of a lot of these services, which are covered by something called family procedure rules and their equivalents in Scotland and in Northern Ireland. So in what we then did, we had to do something about this. I was working with Kafkas at the time, still am, and what had happened was that the feedback we were getting is the sector was likely to collapse because of this threat. So we had to put something into place quickly and effectively to counter this. So there are three planks to the initial response. The first was that we trawled through, for the very small organisations, single organisations, guardians, child contact centres that set up in a church hall on Saturdays, etc. All of those organisations which didn't have the capability, we pulled together from NCSC sites, from the ISO sites, with help from IASME, packs of stuff that we could do and send to them to get them up to a level of compliance. Not all of them were able to achieve it, but we spent a lot of time with training provided, etc., to take them forward. For the larger centres, we use Cyber Essentials, and we also needed to get GDPR compliance checks. We used the IASME governance question set. Thank you, Emma, for a lot of that. But we also took information from the ICO sites in terms of how to get compliant. And we got over 1,000 organisations in total through one or two of those processes, or one or other of those processes, to enable us to be able to give reasonable assurance to the organisations. We then went through Cyber Essentials Plus for a sample of the organisations to see how effective it was. The audit showed that Cyber Essentials was very effective in bringing people up to the standard. And now we're running Cyber Essentials Plus for many of the organisations. So in addition to the full vulnerability scan, we're able to provide additional facilities such as the CIS Level 1 configuration standards, indications of compromise, and also what's key for a lot of people is the email security checks using DKIM, DMARC, etc. So what we've got now is an affordable facility for the micros and individuals. We're moving more and more our client organizations and others to what we're calling model architectures. We're hoping more and more people will go for cloud services and using those cloud services with specified secure devices to take it forward. And we're also working with the ICO to produce codes of conduct which are specific to individual parts of this sector. I think the first one's going to be the child contact centres, which we hope will be in place in a little while. So that's where we are. We've gone through, we've got a scheme. It's provided many people in a very vulnerable high-risk centre with some basic cybersecurity, and also, and I think importantly, made them aware of the security implications and what they can do about it. So although they haven't necessarily got the resources to be able to meet the requirements as large organisations have, what they have got through is the first step on the ladder, are climbing up fairly rapidly.
Thank you very much, John. I think that is an excellent case study. I think often when people think about cyber essentials, they think about it being applicable to the smallest of organizations, where of course it is still really important. But they maybe don't always realize that some of the organizations that rely on it have very severe risks to individuals. And cyber essentials is the first step in the ladder to providing safety and security to those individuals. So I just really wanted to talk a little bit about the economic impact of cyber essentials. So if we look again at the charity sector, you can see that we have certified more than 700 charities over the last 12 months. And most of those are small charities. Even the slightly larger charities, you will often find don't have any technical background. They find a lot of cybersecurity difficult to get to grips with. And the only way really that we can support the charities and the voluntary sector across the UK is to have affordable support from reputable cybersecurity organisations across the whole of the UK and Crown dependencies. So you can see here the spread of our many certification bodies. So these are spread all over the UK and the Crown dependencies, and they are all, we know, at a certain level of being able to provide proper, good cybersecurity advice. They all meet the minimum requirements, we audit them, they have to jump through many, many hoops. But here is a network of trusted experts in cybersecurity, and many of them are very affordable, smaller organizations. So having this network really allows now the organizations that need them to have that local expert advice. But of course, also, this provides economic growth in all areas of the UK, in areas of cybersecurity. We find that cybersecurity, the certification bodies often start up to offer cyber essentials advice and support. But then, because of demand, they start offering a wider variety of cybersecurity services, and they grow as a company. And so Cyber Essentials is really providing that market to grow cybersecurity companies across the whole of the UK. So if we look at the most recent cybersecurity sectoral analysis that was published by the government recently, so almost 1,500 companies are estimated to be working in cybersecurity now. And this is a growth of more than 20% since last year. I mean, I think that's an amazing statistic, especially against the background of the pandemic. And as you can see, even from before, there has just been growth in the previous years as well. And I think we are certainly seeing that, very much an increase in the number of cybersecurity companies offering cyber essentials. In fact, you can see here the growth in the number of certification bodies over the last year. So a year ago, we did actually change the requirements to become a cyber essentials certification body. And as you can see there, just about 150 organizations at that point met those requirements and were a certification body. That number has grown by 75% just in the last year. And this, as you can see, from the size, this is the distribution of the size of organizations offering the Cyber Essentials certification body services. And as you can see, they are vastly dominated by micro and small companies. And we're finding that the Cyber Essentials is creating a market for organizations to start up in the cybersecurity industry. As I said before, they start offering cyber essentials, and then they become a trusted contact for local organizations. And then because of demand, once those organizations have been through Cyber Essentials, they start asking about more and different services. And so the organizations start off with Cyber Essentials, and they move on and they grow, and they create a great growth of cybersecurity industry across the whole of the UK. So just one last thing before I leave you today, which is the issue with a lot of the voluntary organisations is that they literally have no funding at all to be able to spend even on advice. So obviously even the micro certification bodies, you know, do need to pay the bills, and so they will often need to be paid to advise companies. And some organisations don't even have that side of funding at all. But also, before you pay for somebody to help you, often you just need to understand the terms and where to get started. So you will hear more about this tomorrow, because we're launching a Cyber Essentials readiness tool. And this is an online free tool that we are launching and will be available through our website. And this is designed for the smallest of organizations, well, any organization actually, who is not clear of where to start. They probably don't understand the terms. You know, what does a firewall mean? Why do I have to have a unique password? These kind of questions. And so this takes you through the very basic questions aligned to Cyber Essentials and explains what the terms mean and gives you guidance, links to lots of guidance documents that have been written to be understood by people who are not technical. So we're hoping that this tool will, which gives you an action list at the end, will give people a first step, particularly for those who can't afford advice or for those that just need to find a way to get it before seeking further advice. So as I say, you'll be hearing more about that tomorrow. So just in summary, I mean, we have had experience of seeing how effective Cyber Essentials is. It's very effective, it's affordable to most organizations, and also it gives a structure to help people to know which steps to take, which direction to get started in Cyber Essentials. The companies certifying to Cyber Essentials and also the certification bodies who support and assess them are both dominated by micro and small organisations, and they're distributed right across the UK. So that's great in terms of economic impact and security. So we think that the Cyber Essentials scheme has really helped the growth of the cybersecurity industry in the UK, and this has really improved the economic aspects across the whole of the region. So thank you very much indeed for your attention, and if you have any questions, please do contact us.